That preacher mode ain't gonna work. It's not gonna work. The way you can't you can't zoom in on the words or anything. It's just you have to read what's there and then go to the next page. I'm like, nah, yeah. Those for people who do their preaching from commentaries, so they can just put it all in one shot. I don't like that. Right. Well, I tell you, Caleb was one heck of a teacher, wasn't he? So that not then Yahoo said he don't want to be compared to Trump. No, it's too late for that, sir. Sir.
Moreh, did I miss something?
What you miss? You talking about? Can you hear?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. Oh, you got it. You got that fly. All right, we good? he got to fly. Yeah, he gonna have to. Yeah, we don't want no outbreak in here. You're gonna have to wash your hands. So do we remember what we talked about last week? Huh? He already got the mic in his hand. Somebody want to? Lesson ain't even started yet. Huh? Come on now, somebody. It's a lot of people in the back alley. Uh, I think, yeah, I think he can handle it.
We talked about past aggression, well, I want passive aggression
Mhm.
and aggression and open, assertive.
Oh, all right. So we remember about the questions. Anybody? Okay, some examples. Anybody want to share the experience afterwards with those examples? Did anybody look at them? No. No. Huh? Well, he had a good experience. Wait, but he already talked about his experience. No, all right, all right. We keep going. All right. Well, today we're going to talk about assertive anger. Um, we all know that the next one in line was open aggression, but I want to push that one a little back because we can start talking about those spirits inside of y'all. I mean, that we got to identify. They ain't inside of nobody in here. I'm sorry. Okay. All right. Well, let's start with the rules. No, hold on. Okay. What happened? We good? Okay. Let's talk about these rules. I thought y'all don't want me to talk about these rules. All right. Please keep your mic muted, except when asking or answering a question. Use the mic to speak. There is a feature on Zoom in the meeting room where you can raise your hand if you have a question. All questions must be on the topic. You have 60 seconds to ask or answer a question. If you pass your 60-second window, your mic will be muted for you. These rules are due to time and recordings of the lessons. These are live teachings. We must give the Moreh enough time to complete the lesson. This will be mixed with discussions to help build one another. Please do not abuse the time. All right. I wrestled with this. I was like, Father, why you want me to keep put this as the first slide? But apparently some of y'all still got some issues with your emotions here. Huh? Okay. All right. So So when we talk about this, we all know that this is the stuff that's supposed to be positive, right? It ain't supposed to be negative. So when we're talking about your emotions, you're supposed to have a positive feeling or a positive reaction or response to a certain situation, right? Yeah, we get that? Okay. Yeah, it's probably gonna be up there next week too. Inclination, right? A person's natural tendency or urge to feel in a particular way. Your particular way you're supposed to feel is positive, right? About a certain situation, especially inside the truth. Now, when you deal with stuff on the outside world, then that's the stuff on the outside world. But with this whole lesson, all these lessons we've been doing is dealing with people that are inside the truth, right? You're supposed to obey these commandments, statutes, right? All right. Okay. Is this a little brief review? All right. We also have talked about human anger, right? Human anger arises for a number of reasons, some of which are acceptable and others which are not. Scripture stresses the potentially destructive aspects of human anger and urges moderation. That's self-explanatory. All right. We talked about what anger is from a world perspective, a strong feeling of annoyance, displeasure, or hostility. Right? And similarly, it's to annoy someone, the vexation, irritation. And the verb is to fill someone with anger or provoke anger in. And again, you see the similarities are the same. To be annoyed, to be irate, to be irked or vexed. Then everybody's favorite, talk about being piqued. Right? Most of everybody be piqued now. You're always feeling irritated or resentful about something, right? And again, you see the similarities of it being irate, annoyed, bothered, or vexed. But these are the things that you're not supposed to do, right? When you're dealing with certain situations that arise in this walk. Key was a good example of that, of how he avoided all this. Huh? All right. Yeah, he gave some good examples. But he know that we don't, huh? All right. This ain't gonna want this. Okay. Pause. Fear. Typically, one of the primary emotions like fear or sadness can be found underneath the anger. Fear includes things like anxiety and worry, and sadness comes from the experience of loss, disappointment, or discouragement. On the other hand, many people have a tendency to lash out in anger and rage, becoming physically or verbally aggressive, and can oftentimes hurt themselves or others. Okay, that's called open aggression. That's what we'll talk about next week. This comes out in fighting, bullying, blackmailing, accusing, shouting, bickering, sarcasm, and criticism. But criticism can be a passive aggressive too, right? All right, we're gonna see that in a second. Assertive anger, what we're going to talk about today. The healthy way to deal with anger is by being controlled and confident, talking and listening, and open to help in dealing with the situation. This assertive anger can help relationships to grow. It means thinking before you speak, being confident in how you say it, yet open and flexible to the other side. All right. It means being patient, not raising your voice, communicating how you are feeling emotionally, and really trying to understand what others are feeling. Did you do that? When you did that today? Okay. The other day? Oh, you were led by the rule the other day. When you deal with anger assertively, you demonstrate that you are mature and care about your relationships and yourself. Is that always true though? Mhm. Is being assertive always a positive thing? No. Okay. That's what we're gonna see today. Depends on the person, depends on the context. I can see that. Ooh, this thing is slow. Give me the keyboard. That's not gonna work. Oh no, I got this. It's a computer. I'm not gonna touch it anymore. Do we need a Mac? Yeah, okay. So last week we were focusing on the last part of passive aggression, right? So a passive aggressive person is one who appears to comply with a request, but actually resists in subtle ways. The resistance can range from pouting to delayed vindictiveness. Do we remember what vindictive means? Anybody? One person. Okay, we got a hand up here. Yeah.
Vindictive is basically like being spiteful. It's like, you did this to me. You just wait. Give me a couple of days, and I'm gonna do something real good to you, but in a bad way.
Oh my goodness, yes. Having or showing a strong or unreasoned desire for revenge. All right? Be vengeful, out for revenge. Now, I said that we talked about this before, malicious, malevolent, malignant, and malign. We're gonna look at those a little later, but all that just means being evil and being contemptuous, right? So we'll look at them individually and see some things. Now, we all exhibit passive aggressive behaviors at some point, usually as children when it was not safe to openly rebel. However, as we mature, we should be learning healthier behaviors such as setting boundaries and expressing disagreements more openly. Now, the Bible does not use the term passive aggression. We talked about that, right? But it does give us character sketches of people who exhibit passive aggressive traits and the results of that behavior. We talked about that as well. Come on now, catch up. Woo. I reboot the system. All right. So even though we talked about, I did 2 examples last week, right? We talked about Absalom and we talked about Naboth. I'm gonna do them again. I don't really think I explained what Absalom did as being passive aggressive. We just did a backstory and kind of what he did to, be spiteful towards his father. But there's a reason for that, right? So let's start here, 2 Samuel 14:28-33. This is the backstory to Absalom, okay? So Absalom lived 2 full years in Jerusalem without coming into the king's presence. Then Absalom sent for Joab to send him to the king. But Joab would not come to him, and he sent a second time, but Joab would not come, right? Then he said to his servant, see, Joab's field is next to mine, and he has barley there. Go and set it on fire. So Absalom's servant set the field on fire. Now, I asked you before last time, was this displaying a little bit of open aggression along with his being passive? What y'all say? That's a little bit deliberate, ain't it? That's not passive. That's direct. Set it on fire, right? All right. So Absalom answered Joab, behold, I sent word to you. Then Joab arose and went to Absalom at his house and said to him, why have your servant set my field on fire? And Absalom answered Joab, behold, I sent word to you. Come here that I may send you to the king to ask, why have I come from Jeshurun? It would be better for me to be there still. Now, you got a question?
Yeah, that's how Joab went to him.
What happened now?
That's how he went to him. He said he arose and went to Absalom's house and said, why have your servant set my field on fire?
Well,
He said it like that.
I mean, I wasn't there. I
How
would
you
think
say
maybe
it?
he wouldn't have been that calm.
Okay.
Yeah. But I don't know Joab, so he could have been. Okay, go ahead. Narmana?
Speak on Moreh. You sound a little low on Zoom.
Do I?
Can
All right.
Moreh, you actually sound good. I would say, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I think, Cody, please check your mic. He's actually, because I
my
know.
mic? Yeah, speak. I keep my mic is on.
Mhm.
Volume is up.
Your
He means
yeah.
your volume to your
Right.
computer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
whatever you
you
listen to.
sounds a little low. That's all.
Okay.
I can hear him pretty well too. Sounds good, actually.
I think it sounds good too. Now, then we doing the last lesson before that about strife, like y'all. Oh my goodness. Now, where was I? Let's do 32 again. Absalom, 31. All right, start back at 31. Then Joab arose and went to Absalom at his house and said to him, hold on, let me get the aggression. Why have you sent your servants to set my field on fire? I don't know if he was country because I just talked in the country voice. Yeah, right. Absalom answered Joab, behold, I sent word to you, come here that I may send you to the king to ask, why have I come from Jeshurun? It would be better for me to be there still. Now, therefore, let me go into the presence of the king, and if there is guilt in me, let him put me to death. Then Joab went to the king and told him, and he summoned Absalom. So he came to the king and bowed himself on his face to the ground before the king, and the king kissed Absalom. Now, even though he was allowed to return, David still refused to have anything to do with him, right? But Absalom was full of pride and hated his father. So we just read, he had summoned Joab, the commander of the armies, to send a message to David. When Joab twice refused the summons, Absalom set fire to his crops in the field. Now, remember, we talked about your emotions and how you're supposed to handle certain situations. I don't really think Absalom did a good job in this part, did he? All right. So he was plotting to take the kingdom from his father, but he did so by feigning compassion and concern from the citizens, which we will read right now. This is the part I don't think I really explained to it, which I will in a second. All right. 2 Samuel 15, 1-6. Absalom's conspiracy. After this, Absalom got himself a chariot and horses, and 50 men to run before him. And Absalom used to rise early and stand beside the way of the gate. And when any man had a dispute to come before the king for judgment, Absalom would call to him and say, from what city are you? And he would say, your servant is of such and such tribe in Israel. Absalom would say to him, see, your claims are good and right, but there is no man designated by the king to hear you. Then Absalom would say, oh, that I were judge in the land. Then every man with a dispute or cause might come to me, and I would give him justice. And whenever a man came near to pay homage to him, he would put out his hand and take hold of him and kiss him. Thus Absalom did to all of Israel who came to the king for judgment. So Absalom stole the hearts of the men of Israel. Now, passive-aggressive people are probably more dangerous than openly aggressive people. Anybody give me a reason why? Say it all the time. Go ahead.
For me, I think the passive aggressive ones are the most sneaky ones. So they're gonna sneak up on you. And the open aggressive ones, you know where they're coming from.
Mhm. You don't see the attack coming, right? Remember, there's a disconnect between what a passive aggressive person says and what he or she does, right? You say one thing and do another, right? In the same way, we always talk about the inner man versus the outer man. You can always fool us when it's on the outside, but you can't fool the Father because he looks on the what? The inside, right? Thus, this makes it harder for people to gauge you, right? People had no idea what Absalom was doing, and that's just the way he wanted it, which in turn sends the wrong message about you and what you are about. You can't expect someone to know how you think or how you react to certain situations. Communication is the key in all this, and this is what passive aggression is. It takes that communication that will help a situation, and it makes it bad, right? Because now you're trying to avoid the situation instead of communicating what needs to be said. All right. And that was the first example. I thought maybe we could have got away with that one. I thought that was pretty good, but no. So we did a second example. All right. This was Naboth. Now, before we do that again, look at this is all the things that are supposed to be positive, right? Not negative, but a lot of the times we turn something positive into negative, and we have negative feelings, and we have negative reactions or responses to certain situations. So the first couple lessons that I did that were explaining how you should have your foundation set. Remember that? Because if you don't, certain winds or certain ruas can come in and out, right? This is connected to that. If you don't know how to handle certain situations, this will make stuff bad. And that's what passive aggression is all about. It doesn't start off with someone being angry. It starts off by poor communication. And that poor communication can trickle all the way down to passive aggressive or to assertive or anger, like we're going to read about today. All right. Second example. All right, this was 1 Kings 21, 1-4. Now, Naboth the Jezreelite had a vineyard in Yezreel, beside the palace of Ahab, king of Samaria. And after this, Ahab said to Naboth, give me your vineyard that I may have it for a vegetable garden. I'm like really, really loud all of a sudden. Yeah. No, she was saying I wasn't loud. Okay, because it is near my house, and I will give you a better vineyard for it. Or if it seems good to you, I will give you its value in money. But Naboth said to Ahab, Yahuah forbid that I should give you the inheritance of my fathers. That hurt him. He didn't like that. And Ahab went into his house vexed and sullen because of what Naboth the Jezreelite had said to him. For he had said, I will not give you the inheritance of my fathers. And he laid down on his bed and turned away his face, and would not eat food. All right. Let me catch up here. All right. So we talked about this, right? A passive aggressive person is one who appears to comply with a request, but actually resists in subtle ways. The resistance can range from pouting to delayed vindictiveness. That's exactly what he did, right? His response was to being denied was, he wanted to sulk and pout and refuse to eat. His passive aggressive actions prompted his wicked wife, Jezebel, to concoct a scheme to kill Naboth, the vineyard owner, and give her husband the land. She lied, forged her husband's signature, and slandered the innocent Naboth, leading to his public execution. Yahuah immediately sent Elijah the prophet to proclaim to Ahab that Elohim had seen all that had happened and that Ahab's death would soon follow Naboth. And this is a response. Then the word of Yahuah came to Elijah the Tishbite, saying, arise, go down to meet Ahab, the king of Israel, who is in Samaria. Behold, he is in the vineyard of Naboth, where he has gone to take possession. And you shall say to him, thus says Yahuah, have you killed and also taken possession? And you shall say to him, thus says Yahuah, in the place where dogs lick up the blood of Naboth, shall dogs lick your own blood. Ahab said to Elijah, have you found me, O my enemy? He answered, I have found you, because you have sold yourself to do what is evil in the sight of Yahuah. Behold, I will bring disaster upon you. I will utterly burn you up, and will cut off from Ahab every male, bond or free, in Israel. And I will make your house like the house of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, and like the house of Baasha, the son of Ahiah. For the anger, or the ka'as, which is vexation, is anger, indignation, or provocation, to which you have provoked me, and because you have made Israel to sin. And of Jezebel, Yahuah said, the dog shall eat Jezebel within the walls of Yezreel. Anyone belonging to Ahab who dies in the city, the dog shall eat. And anyone of his who dies in the open country, the birds of the heavens shall eat. So we also said that because of Ahab's passive aggressive behavior that had begun, this had begun the whole disaster chain of events. Because he wanted to pout and sulk and have and basically be vindictive. His wife turned in and did it and started all this. And now you have to understand about being the head of the household, you have to be careful what you do and say too, because it can affect everybody around you. This is some of those effects that they can have because of poor communication. If he just would have talked to Naboth instead of being all upset and going and letting his wife handle it. Yeah, that's another story, right? Let me be quiet.
He could have said no, but he don't do it.
He could have said a lot of stuff. Yeah. All right, let's keep going. All right. So I thought that was enough, but apparently it wasn't, because I got a whole bunch of questions. So I said, let me put one more example up there. You can thank Moreh Chanan for this one. But let's read this first. Other examples of passive aggressive behavior might include avoiding direct or clear communication, evading problems. It was just doing all the ones I highlighted, right? So making excuses, blaming others, playing the victim, and sometimes sarcasm, right? Genesis 3, starting at verse 8. And they heard the sound of Yahuah Elohim walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And the man and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Yahuah Elohim among the trees of the garden. Which one is that right off the bat? It's two of them. What's one of them? Is evading problem. Okay. And avoiding direct or clear communication. But Yahuah Elohim called to the man and said to him, where are you? And he said, I heard the sound of you in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked and I hid myself. So he said, who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten of the tree of which I commanded you not to eat? Then the man said, the woman whom you gave to be with me, she gave me fruit of the tree and I ate. Now, fellas, which one is that? I want to hear the fellas. I want to hear the fellas now.
I blame the Most High.
So you
Playing that victim.
So you making excuses, you
Yeah.
blaming others,
Yeah.
you playing the victim,
Mhm.
you invading the problem altogether, and you're avoiding direct or clear communication.
Mhm.
Huh? Yeah, that's it, making excuses, right? All right, but yeah. Then Yahuah Elohim said to the woman, what is this that you have done? And the woman said, the servant this evening. And okay, ladies, which one is this? Now let's just go down the list. Do we understand now what passive aggression is, right? You want out of the conflict, right? You want out of the conflict or the conversation that you're in. So you're going to do whatever you need to do or say to get out of that said situation. That's a whole part of being passive. You're being passive. You're not being direct or open with it. You want this thing to go on by you. You don't want to have no parts of it. So that's what being, see, I think some people kind of get it confused because it says aggression. But the aggressive part is getting away. So you're going to do what you need to do aggressively to get away. We got that now. Because I don't know if I come up with a fourth example. Okay. I think that one should have got everybody. All right. Let me catch up here. Okay. Good. Now, we also talked about the art of forgiveness, right? Forgiveness is always important. If a person has apologized for making you angry, or if you realize that the situation isn't worth it, be open to forgive and willing to be forgiven and forgive yourself. This will help you to calm down and will help your relationships with others flourish. Now, we talked about Leviticus 19:17. You shall not hate your brother in your heart, but you shall reason frankly with your neighbor, lest you incur sin because of him. And we said that the H 8130 was what? Right? Is the hate. Be unable or unwilling to put up with. Now, wishing tune can make you an enemy or make an enemy of the person that you're talking to, right? All right. And I read this here in Leviticus 1970 in the Targums. I like the way it said, you shall not hate your brother in your heart. You shall indeed reprove your companion, that you not receive guilt on account of him. Now, what does that part mean, that you will not receive guilt on account of him? We talked about that last week. You got a hand up. Got a hand up.
I think by you not liking or loving your brother, I don't want to use the word hate, by you not being that forgiving person, then you're sinning.
Well, look at what it says here, right? You shall indeed reprove.
So
your
that means you
companion.
have to correct your brother or your sister, right?
If you see something wrong that you know needs to be addressed or corrected and you don't do it,
Then you're in trouble with the Most
Mhm.
High because you didn't correct them in their wrong.
got it?
Got it.
All right, I think you can have a seat. Oh, no, we got another hand up. Yeah. Is it on? There you go.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, suppose you don't know that person. And I have had people that just start working and have complaints about people, and they would catch me coming through and they would say, I said, well, I don't know of the situation, and I keep moving.
Well, that's not the same thing. See,
Yeah,
we
you-
talking
you-
about your
These
brother
are people that you know.
or your sister. You know these
Yeah.
people.
If they appear at your job, you
Right.
tell them keep it moving.
Yeah, anybody else, these people in your workplace, look, they got a situation, you just turn the other way. Go ahead.
Okay, would this be a good example?
Uh-huh.
All right, so let's just say the rule is that you need to look both sides before you cross the street. And if you see your brother not look both sides before he crosses the street and he just keeps walking and he gets hit by a car and you saw it happen and you didn't stop him, is it your fault?
Hey, y'all, you may not want to walk. If you ain't do nothing like that, you're going to incur that injury.
Okay, there you go. All right.
The whole premise is that in this walk, your brother or sister, you see them doing or saying something that you know is against Torah, and they're not being corrected, and you have that opportunity to correct them, and you don't. We'll talk about that more.
Now,
Yeah, yeah.
again, I say, how well do you know the person? That doesn't mean you go on social media and try to correct every so-called Hebrew out there that comes up with some.
Well, hold on now.
Weirdness.
Hold on now. We ain't talking about that yet. We ain't talking about that yet. It's about 4 or 5 slides later, you know. Boy, you and boy, I promise you, y'all got access to my computer or something. I don't know. No, you are.
Slika Moreh.
Yes, ma'am.
So basically, we are our brother's keeper.
Yes. Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. You know, the whole thing is with assertive anger, or I don't want to say assertive anger when it comes to us, just being assertive, period. There are going to be times when you need to be assertive, especially when it comes to your brother or sister. And you see that you have to reprove them. There is good rebuke. We talked about that last week, right? You are supposed to do that in righteousness. So this is the first step. If you do not say anything, there is a punishment for that. There's a consequence for that. As long as it is righteous, it has something to do with Torah. Right? All right, definitions of forgiveness. Uh-oh, go ahead. Okay, Nama, something else?
No, Moreh. You answered it.
Okay. Hallelujah. Go ahead, Toria.
I think it's more about the approach and it's how you come to a person, right? So, and that goes as well as how well you know them. If you come to them with a very prideful stance, that'll push some people away. If you come to them with a subtle, say, hey, listen, you know, this is what happened. This might not be a good idea because of X, Y, Z. I think that's the best way to handle a situation like that.
I mean, Moreh Lamont has always said it could be your delivery too, right? But what we're going to talk about when being assertive, yes, it has something to do with your delivery, but at the same time, the Father telling you to say something to somebody, you have to say it. You can't worry about how the other person would feel at that moment. He tell you go, you go to Nineveh, go where? All right. Age 55, 45. What is that? Salah? All right. It's primal to forgive, be forgive, pardon, spare. All right. What does pardon mean?
As though it didn't even exist.
And is there a way we can just cut off power to the G863? A phenom, right? It's a leave, forgive, let loose. And what does permit mean? I know it's you got 2 hands.
Means to allow or accept, right?
Okay. You are permitting.
Okay.
What did you say? Allow? What do you say?
They were going to say the same thing.
Is that what it was?
Allow. Yeah. Mhm.
Go ahead, Nadama.
Maury, wouldn't it like mean to give someone like permission to like consent like that?
I mean, you're permitting them to go on. It's you're basically almost like pardon you. It's okay. Yeah, it's something to what you were saying. Yes.
Okay.
Tolerate.
There you go. Tolerate. Wait, what? Wait, what are you tolerating? Oh, he didn't use Google.
That's what Google
He didn't use
says.
Google. They didn't
He's
switch
talking
you
about
up this time,
forgiving.
brother.
In
That's
other
what it
words, you
says. It
permit them to
says-
go free.
You
says
permit.
tolerate.
It's almost like you're part of it. It's done with. It's you're permitting them to go on about their business at this point.
Yeah, so to consent. Okay, totally, Maury.
Yeah. Whatever that it was, you permitting them is done with. Now you let them go on about their business. Right? You're gonna have to work on that Google thing, brother. Who that? Go ahead, Kanisha. I put that back down.
Again, can anybody hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're still in the Qumran caves, but we can hear you now.
Okay, wait a minute, y'all taking up my minute. Hold on. Okay, so here's the thing. So I had a few situations this week. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I am not a confrontational person. So I have made a habit of just being, I guess it turned me into a passive person. I don't like confrontation and so I'm not quick on my feet. There's a lot of people when things happen, they got that comeback real quick. I'm one of those people when I leave the situation, I'm like, oh my gosh, I just got insulted. Okay, so I probably should have said this. I probably should have said that. And by the time I assessed that and I've talked to the Father about it, I really, truly, most of the time, and in this situation this past week, I truly have forgiven the person. I've moved on. I realized that they're not the walk. They don't have understanding. I attempted to wear a head wrap. I'm trying to move in that direction, and all day I had no problems. And my unit supervisor came to me and told me that I can't wear it, although it's not against the rules. And I have Muslims on my unit that wear it, and told me to check the handbook. I did. It was okay, and she told me she didn't want the uppers to come in and see me wearing it. It really offended me, and I was so mad that I was trying to keep from crying. So I didn't say anything at all. I didn't know what to say. I'm not confrontational. I went home and I prayed about it. I really released it and let that thing go. I know my 60 seconds got to be up. Give me 60 more. Okay, so I prayed about it, and I said, I prayed all the way throughout the day, and I said, if I see her and I have that thing in my heart where I'm like, ugh, or whatever, I know that I need to say something. I really let it go. But you're saying that I just permitted her to approach me in that way. I feel like it's like sometimes when you do address situation, it's like bringing back up. I don't know, like it's kind of like bringing.
I kind of understand what you're trying to say. Are you saying you're being passive because because you want to avoid the confrontation? But here's the thing: you went back and was a little bit of assertive because you addressed it. I think that's what you were saying. You were addressing it, but
No, Moreh, I still have not addressed
oh,
it.
you haven't addressed it.
Father,
Okay.
no, I just prayed about it and I released that thing, and I was, you know what I mean? Because I don't know. I guess I conditioned myself in a way, but it kind of comes across as me being passive. So me listening to this lesson, it's making me feel like, hold on, like, should I go back now? But I don't want to like rehash stuff.
What was
So
Matthew
I'm now
5,
a little
23? Hold on. Let Moreh read something real quick.
All right. So I'm gonna read to you Matthew's 5:23, 24. So if you are offering your gift at the altar, and meaning you remember that your brother has something against you, leave your gift there before the altar and go first to reconcile to your brother, and then come and offer your gift.
Remember we talked about that? Kanisha? It don't work. Now, remember, again, this is for people that are inside the truth, right? But we can practice some of this stuff. If you feel as though something has offended you, then you should say something. Because this is how, remember what I said, passive aggression does not start off by you being angry. It starts off because of poor communication. So that thing can trickle down. You know, some people don't know how to let stuff go. Even though they pray on it, you're still not letting it go. That's because you need to address it. So no, don't say that. You don't want to get a fire. The whole premise is if something has offended you, then you need to say something about it in an assertive type of way, positive assertive way.
I just had a question for the scripture that you had him read. It wasn't for that situation, right? Because her boss, like you said, I guess would be a Gentile. So we wouldn't use the same scriptures for them, or would we?
No, not for them. But what I'm saying is that's the process in which you are supposed to take, though. You know, if you do have a quarrel with someone, you're supposed to let them know. Hiding it or you know, putting it in the background is going to do more damage than good. And
How we deal with those in the world is how you do. You're dealing with them according to their principles, their rules, their laws. So you got HR, you got the Constitution of the United States of America. Have freedom of religion. You can go all out with them, with their rules, according to their laws. You know what I'm saying? Your law says I can do this. Your law says, if they want to fight that, and of course, you might walk away with a big lawsuit.
Right.
You know?
When I came into the walk, and I chose to wear my hair wrap, what I did for myself, I went and talked to my director, and I told him that I am in a set apart walk and I needs to cover my head. And I made sure they understood that no matter, and I said, and I cannot take it off, and I'm sorry, but I won't take it off. And they came to know me every time I got ready to do something that is new with the simile and everything. I went to them and let them know first that I will not be of the world. I must be set apart. And they understood, and to this day, they understand anything I have to do with my simile. I'm coming to you first and let you know and be aware of. I chose the direct go in there and say what I had to do, so I don't have to listen to people who in the office talking about my hair wrap. As long as it was clean and neat and it's coordinated, I could care less.
That's a little bit of open aggression. Well, you be displaying some open aggression.
So, hold on to all the Mishpachah. Can I just say my phone lost connection and I heard nothing. So I'll be watching this later.
You didn't hear none of that goodness, huh?
Oh, I'm saying, I feel like I just missed some meat and I'm just like really upset right now. I'll watch it later, but hold on to
we had lifted you up and pretty nice fun. All right. Now you can, what did we say? We went over Matthew 5:24, and basically just letting you know there are two laws that we got here, right? So what now? 42 minutes into the lesson. Oh, somebody said go 42 minutes into the lesson, you get the gist of it. But basically, you know, I had him read Matthew 5:24. The law that we are under is that if you have something, or you know someone has something against you, you need to go get that right before you get your gift to the altar. We said that. But Moreh Chanan came behind me and said there's a law of the land, and that's how you need to handle things with people who are outside the truth. Because remember, what we're talking about are for people who are in the truth, right? So you handle the stuff that you need to handle with people outside in the world, handle the things that you need to handle with the people inside the truth. But like you said, timestamp is 42 minutes. You go ahead and get the gist of it. Unwavering, to be steady or resolute, not wavering. You know, similarity is to be steady, fixed, resolute, or firm or steadfast in something. Remember what the Hebrew word for steadfast was. Hesed. I just wanted to see if y'all knew. Man. All right. And then Athines also means not leaning, i.e. being firm without wavering. All right. Now we're going to get to the meat of it. All right. So assertive anger. Now, just the gist of it when it comes to the truth, right? In this truth, we are, when being assertive, we are holding true to the Father's word. You know, we recite it, defend it, especially when the Father tells us to do so, right? There are other instances that require us to be confident in our speech and behavior. Can anyone give me an example when we being in this truth that you can be assertive? Y'all gonna let him do it? Okay, okay, go ahead, Mark.
All right, so I'll answer it in two ways because there's a question online or on YouTube, so I'll answer it through the YouTube question.
Okay.
Our first is knowing what truth is, right? So telling Psalms 119, Mishnah Proverbs 6:23, they tell you what is truth. The Father's word is truth, his law is truth, his commandments is truth. These are things called truth. And so when there's a violation of that, and you know what the truth is and you know where it's violated, you can share that with them and show them according to what is called truth, that this is incorrect and you have to change, because the understanding is the person that you're talking to is in the truth as well. So it should give them a conviction in their heart to be able to change because they both agree to what truth is.
All right. Anyone else? That was a scholarly answer. Y'all know that. Go ahead. Go ahead, Josh.
Shalom. What if it's like someone that's barely in the, like, just coming into the truth, and they're just coming into the walk, and then I just got to give a quick reference for Acts 15, where certain the Pharisees were telling the Mishpachah to be circumcised. Unless they be circumcised, they won't be saved. So if for somebody that's just coming in the truth, and like, say for instance, we have a set apart feast day, and they're just coming in the truth. They're a little kid. And do we tell them right away, like, hey, you got to be here? If not, then then you can't be part of this assembly. Is there, because you got to tell them, like, your speech got to be set apart as well, right? So you got to, do you let that slide, or you just tell them, like, when they start to know the Father, and they will understand how much important it is to be there, or do you just, like, there's ways to tell them, like, not to write them off right away, right?
Right. Yeah, there's ways of communicating certain situations, but we all come into this truth at different levels, right?
Yeah. Plus, you got to understand that when someone's new, typically you should that person should want or need some type of mentor, and that mentor will be, checking on them, letting them know, giving things to them in advance, not just this is the date, but help them understand it so when they come in, they can feel a little bit more comfortable. But ultimately, once you share it with them in how you deliver that to them, then it's now left up to them to walk it out.
Yeah, remember I said earlier, there are instances where you have to be assertive in your speech. Delivery does play a part, but there's sometimes the Father wants you to say something, you just have to say it. But if it's someone new in the walk, this is, no. It's a certain way to handle them. It's a certain way to handle the situation, Like he said, be a mentor to them, bring them up just like someone did for you, right? What I'm talking about more is hey, somebody's in this truth, they've been in this truth for a while, doing something they have no business doing, that's the opposite of Torah. That's when you're gonna have to be a little bit more direct and assertive and have something to say. Not when they just coming in there, you can scare them, they're gonna go back to the church. They at least give me a hug before they speak to me, All right. Anything else? All right. So The healthy way to deal with anger is by being controlled and confident, talking and listening and open to help and dealing with the situation. This assertive anger can help relationships to grow. It means thinking before you speak, being confident in how you say it, yet open and flexible to the other side, right? It means being patient, not raising your voice, communicating how you are feeling emotionally, and really trying to understand what others are feeling. I probably should have put this up while you were talking, Joshua, my bad. When you deal with anger assertively, you demonstrate that you are mature and clear about your relationships and yourself. Now, to be assertive is to exude bold confidence in speech or behavior. Assertiveness, when taken to extremes, can evolve into pushiness or brashness. However, assertiveness can also be a positive quality that we ask Elohim to give us. We all need to be assertive in some ways, as I said before. All right, Ephesians 6:18-20. This is coming from the Net Bible. With every prayer and petition, pray at all times in the spirit of Ruach, and to this end, be alert with all perseverance and petitions for all the saints. All right, pray for me also, that I may be given the right words when I begin to speak, that I may confidently make known the mystery of the gospel, for which I am an ambassador in change. That's a whole nother subject. Please don't ask what that means. That's a whole nother lesson. But pray that I may be able to speak boldly as I ought to speak. What do we get out of that last part right there? Anybody?
So
Okay.
is that, it says, pray that I may be able to speak boldly as I ought to. So you can be bold, but in a way that it can still be received.
Mhm.
How I ought to speak to that person. So you can say something assertive, but also keep in mind where they are as you're giving that information.
Remember when I said, this is about the Father's truth, right? So there's going to be a time where you're going to need to say what needs to be said, right? And he's praying that he can get that out in a way that people are going to understand him and that people are going to understand it and take that word.
Shalom. Would it be considered passive aggressive if you are, I guess, delaying going to that person because you don't want the emotions to come out? You kind of want to give it a little time. Is there a time frame?
So it depends on the person, because if the person is sincerely like, look, I need some time to get my thoughts together.
Mhm.
So when I do come to the person, I'm coming in the right spirit. So if you need to humble yourself, then you need to take that time. Should it take a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks? No, but it should be enough. If you're really searching your heart, you're like, listen, Father, I really need you right now, or I really need the scripture that says this, to help me out, because you're actively trying to get it right first with yourself. And once you do that, then yeah. Or if you think you need more time, let that person know. Hey, listen, I am going to get back with you. I just need some time to get my thoughts together, blah, 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 blah.
Okay.
We said this before, it can be difficult to speak assertively when you put in a certain situation. That's why I always say that Father should be the center of everything that you say, all your decisions, everything of the matters of the heart. Because we can speak out of those, remember that emotion I put up there, your feelings. You don't want to do that, right? Go ahead, Nataman.
Slicha Moreh, when I got a question. What happens when we are addressing people that are just difficult to talk with, when we are addressing them in a assertive manner, when we are thinking in slow of speech, but we're thinking about what we're saying before we need to say it in a positive manner, but yet still we're dealing with a difficult people. I mean, how would you handle that?
Well, remember what we talked about last week. Well, first of all, are they in the truth or are they of the world?
They're in the truth.
Okay, so remember we talked about, you try to bring it to that person first. You want to do that in secret, remember? You want to just be you two talking about it. If that don't work, then what you supposed to do?
Get 2 or 3.
Get 2 or 3 witnesses.
And
And
then
if
after that
doesn't
happens,
work,
then what?
Get
then we
stones.
bring it. Low, Moreh. Then we have to bring it to the Morehs.
And then after that, then what?
Well, we bring it to the Morehs. We let each side speak, and then we see what happens after that. Either that person is going to forgive and accept forgiveness or not.
Remember, the last thing was they will be counted as a Gentile or a tax collector, remember?
Oh yes,
They're not going to listen to anything or anybody, then you just got to let them go at that point.
Ken.
All right.
Yes.
All right, Toria.
Yeah, so I'm still thinking I'm stuck on delivery, even when I heard that last scripture he gave. Are you read? So what I get from that is make sure the point is strong, but don't be overbearing. Am I right with that?
I mean, it doesn't have to be a strong point, but yeah, but the thing is you have to put it in the context that it needs to be. Who are you talking to and what's the subject matter? Number one.
Someone in the truth, obviously it'll be like a little bit stronger. Like you give them script. Someone that's not, you kind of feed them milk over meat.
If they're just starting out in the truth, yeah. But remember the example I gave. These are when we have to reprove somebody. You're not reproving someone, who's just now walking in there. You're reproving someone that knows right from wrong when it comes to Torah and still chooses to do wrong. That's what the Father's saying. If you don't tell that person what they're doing that's wrong, then both of y'all gonna get punished. So it's a little different, Being assertive can be a little different. Go ahead.
I got an example.
Uh-oh.
So I got Moreh Lamadyahu's iPad.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's his iPad, but I keep it anyway.
Mm.
And you know it's Moreh Lamadyahu's iPad,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't tell me nothing about it. And you say, you gonna give his iPad back? I'm saying, no, ask me for it. I ain't giving it back. Am I right or wrong?
You're definitely wrong.
Okay, so you're supposed to tell me something about it.
Yeah.
And if I say, man, forget that, I ain't getting it. If you don't ask me for it, I ain't getting it back.
Then both of y'all gonna be punished.
All right, so then you go ahead and do what? You go get your, hey, Moreh, you got your iPad, man. You, do that. You got my iPad? Then what's gonna happen? We're gonna get in a fight? Or
if you're in the truth, you're supposed to talk to that.
Or I'm going to admit my wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Say, here, I had an iPad. I wasn't gonna give it back.
Right.
I ain't got no iPad.
Remember, the whole point of this is to help people come back to the Father, right? You want them to come back to righteousness or to the path of Yahuah, pun intended. So it's your delivery is going to shape some of that, but it still has to be in the right context. You still have to understand who you're talking to, what level are they on, before you even try to talk to them about whatever that situation is. Go ahead.
So with what you said, Yasharon, with the iPad, as far as being boldly assertive under Torah. So, okay, so somebody has the iPad. You say, man, you shouldn't have taken that iPad. And he says, well, I'm gonna keep it. Now, do you go in further? You've already told him that he shouldn't keep that iPad. You're stealing. You need to give it back to Moreh. He says, I'm gonna keep it. Do you go in further, like bolder, like?
And that's one of those commandments, ain't it?
Running down scripture to him, and how do you do that?
Of course, you're gonna remind him of scripture. Do you say, oh, so you disregard what Yahuah says?
Right. That's an assertive part.
Yeah, you disregarding what the Father said.
That's a reproving part.
And that's not me saying it. That's the Most High saying it. So you're saying bump that. Yahuah can, kick rocks.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're showing your heart. My heart is showing because I'm stealing something from my brother.
Oh yeah.
And I'm knowingly doing it.
No, you ain't gotta be doing that.
All right. So now I'm still coming and singing praises. I'm still standing in front of the people teaching. Using his iPad.
Oh my goodness. All lessons going out the window there.
Huh? But now you got to take it to the 2 or 3 witnesses, right? And then if I still want to harden my heart, then we bring it for the assembly. Hey, assembly, Moreh Chanan has Lamadyahu's iPad. He refused to give it back. We have explained the scriptures to him. What say ye? He got to get that iPad back or he's out of the assembly.
Counted as a Gentile.
Oria?
Yeah, go ahead, Oria.
Shalom, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question to Kenisha's question because I don't know if I didn't get it, but you said she should address it. Does that mean that she has to tell that person how she felt, or just dealing with the solution, just ask, like getting the information if she can wear the head wrap or not? Because sometimes I felt like I used to work in a nursing home, so I know sometimes how it is. So I always felt like I don't want to show no weakness, but that could be wrong. So I just want to have clarity over that.
No, that wouldn't be showing any weakness. Oh, exactly. What is your question? Are you saying that when you have to address the situation, do you have to explain? Well, you would have to. That'd be part of the communication process, wouldn't it?
So she she would have to say that she felt hurt, that whatever.
Well, no.
That's yeah, okay. So just
No.
just getting, she has to find out if she can wear it or not and how the rules are, right? That's what you mean with address it.
Right. She'll address it with her job. So if HR says, hey, we have laws that states, or federal laws that says that, the only way you can wear is under religious conditions. And so when she goes to the HR and they give her that code, whatever that is, then she can take that information to her boss and say, hey, this is a part of my belief. And according to the law, to our job, it says this, and that. And then the boss could say, okay, well, no problem. Or if the boss don't like it, then they can escalate it up to HR and they can take it from there. But she definitely need to share, her emotions behind it.
She has to?
No, she definitely don't need to.
I don't need to. Okay. That's how I felt. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
remember, we're dealing with 2 different types of assertiveness here. Remember, it's something for people who are in the truth versus people who are in the world, right?
Exactly. Yes.
You're going to handle the people who are in the truth a little bit different than you would someone that's out in the world. Because there's different situations that come up with people out in the world that you wouldn't do in the truth.
Exactly. Yes. Toda.
Right. Go ahead, Kenisha. See if we can hear.
Araya, thank you so
We can
much.
hear you.
Because
Yes.
I'm so sorry. You're right. Araya, thank you so much for saying that, because I would have gone in there with all my emotions on the sleeve. I probably would have been crying and all that stuff. So I will make sure I'm prepared. In regards to what I was saying, so what I'm needing to say is, okay, so I don't remember the name of the prophet who helped rebuild Jerusalem after they went to Babylon. But there was such a boldness to the point where he sat at the gate to keep the people from going out and buying and selling with the traders, with the people who trade in the ships and things like that. So that kind of, and even with Shaul, when he would have issues, when he would address people, I would read sometimes and I was like, man, Shaul is he sounds confrontational sometimes even, but it just sounds like, as believers, which is the way I've been taught is to be, meek and mild and like I said, passive in a way, which is good in some instances, but it just sounds like, the boldness is what we're supposed to be striving for. Am I correct? Like, to whatever extent, because he had to sit to keep the people from going out on the Shabbat.
Right, but it's all about delivery sometimes. But that was something, remember what I said about that. They were doing something that they clearly knew you wasn't supposed to be doing, right? So they were doing something that was against Torah. So they were being rebuked, right? They were being reproved at that moment. That's different. That's a little different. Go ahead, Mama.
Shalom, shalom, Moreh. What I'm gathering with all this is we must exercise wisdom and discernment when we are addressing situations, dealing with assertiveness, whether we are dealing with the Gentiles and their laws and rules, or whether we are dealing with our own mishpachah in reference to the Father's laws and statutes. If we see them doing something that is wrong, we are to definitely be assertive and hold confidence in our speech and behavior. And with that said, also dealing with the Gentiles, holding confidence in speech and our behavior, being assertive.
Yes. Hallelujah. That is it. Mhm. All right. Now, we can be assertive in wrong ways for wrong reasons. In our current culture, everyone is preoccupied with asserting his or own individual rights to do this or that, or to be not to be offended. You know, just like we talked about social media, people are bold in delivering and declaring their opinions about every little thing, and that assertiveness can become overly forward or even militant, especially when coupled with disregard for others. Now, social media provide a platform for which the unassertive can appear bold and assertive, but it is usually not for the right reasons, right? Internet blustering, threatening, and ranting are not demonstrations of healthy assertiveness, but of self-centered preoccupation. Assertiveness is good when it is used to right a wrong. Did we get that? All right. When we from this slide on, we're going to see the different instances. I just want you to separate the world from the truth when we talk about these things. Okay. When you have an example or you're thinking about something that you're supposed to do when you're in the truth. Unless it has something to do with the outside world, then you need to think about what you would do on the outside world. Okay. All right, Proverbs 24:11, this is from the Targums. Rescue those who are being taken away to death and hold back those who are being led away to execution. What does that mean? We just talked about it. Put your Google away. It ain't gonna, oh my goodness. Anybody, if you know that your brother or sister is in danger and by an unjust proceeding, right? In this truth, why would you say anything that could deliver them? All right? It's the same thing of you know somebody's in the wrong, but you're just letting them do it. You're just letting them do it and not saying anything. If you have an opportunity to say or do something that's going to bring them back to the Father, why wouldn't you take that opportunity to do it? That's what he's supposed to do, right? I could have sworn last week I put there to show that we were commanded. That was last week. I have to learn how to ignore him so he don't keep going. My goodness. James 5:20. This is from the Net Bible, okay? My brothers and sisters, if anyone among you wanders from the truth and someone turns him back, he should know that the one who turns a sinner back from his wandering path will save that person's soul from death and will cover a multitude of sins. So there's an incentive in it for you. There's a time when you want to get assertive and bold. For some of us, we may shrink back from being bold and wanting to confront someone in the truth now, okay? Because you're afraid of how they might react to that certain situation. But for something like this, if it's something that you know is not right, and you can't let it slide. That's basically what this is saying. You can't let it slide. It's your job to say something. You just threw in a little incentive there, but you forget about the incentive. It's your job to get your brother or your sister back on the right track. So I want everybody to understand, this is the assertive that I'm talking about. I'm not talking about, you know, what the world wants you to think about being assertive, you know. No. Remember, this is focused around the Father and his word. No. We ain't supposed to put nobody in check. Go ahead. Yeah, we got somebody up front. He got his phone out, so this is gonna be good.
Okay, so when you said all that, this verse came to mind. Yahuah or Jude 22 and 23. And show compassion towards some who are doubting, but others save with fear, snatching them out of the fire, hating even the garment defiled by the flesh. Is that a form of assertive anger?
That's a little open to me. You think a little bit might be a little open? Huh? Which one? Read it again and answer that question. You got it, mate. Yeah. Okay. Anybody hear you say nothing?
So I say yes, because but others saving with fear, snatching them out of the fire, in terms of rescuing those who are being taken away to death and holding back those who are being led away to execution, hating even their garment to be defiled by the flesh.
I agree. Got a question?
In the verse, I also we must stop looking at the person who bringing the message. If the Father has told that person to come to you, stop looking at who bringing the message. The Father is sent with the message that he wants you to have.
Isn't that what Moreh Chanan did on Shabbat? He said, you can't be afraid to get the message because of what someone might think or what someone might say. But isn't that what I said too? Especially if the Father is the one that's giving you the message. The rules kind of go out the window at that point because it's the Father telling you what to say, right? Ezekiel 3:18, this is the Targums. This is basically saying the same thing we said a little earlier. When I say to the wicked one, you will surely die, but you do not warn him, and you do not speak in order to warn the wicked one from his evil way, so that he might live, though he is evil and must die because of his sin. I will demand his blood from your hand, or you will be held accountable. Okay? All right, so we already went through that. We should be good on that. All right. Go ahead. Who got the hand up? Go ahead, Yashua.
Hey, Moreh. So going back to Absalom, with that situation, I know none of the brothers reproved him, but didn't I thought David knew about what he did to his daughter, right?
Yeah.
Did not David know?
Everybody knew.
Yeah. So is it right for Absalom to feel that way?
No, but you also remember when I said he was filled with pride at that moment. He felt that what he did was right because of the situation. Right. But we remember we done a lesson on pride itself. You know, pride can puff you up, can exalt you over everything, over your own consciousness. Your logic goes out the window when you got pride stuck in you.
Because you know what? I mean, like I said, it was his sister, right? And then he felt like no one else was listening to him, so I guess he just took it in his own hands, right? Because that was supposed to happen, right? Because he defiled his sister, so he felt like David didn't listen to him, or no one was listening to him, so he took it into his own hands. So is that like you said, is that pride?
Right, but what do we talk about vindictiveness as well? He took revenge upon himself.
So in that situation, Absalom should have came to his dad first and told him about that, right?
What he should have did was put the father first on that situation and let the decision go through the father, but he didn't. But yes, and it probably would have went through David at that point, but he took it upon himself. I'm gonna get this revenge. So that's what, and so from that, we had all that trickle down effect. Remember, I talk about how that stuff can trickle down. So now he's sitting up here and he's doing all these things on his own. and it's starting to create that evil in him, and to the point where now he's saying, I'm just going to take the kingdom away from my father, and I'm going to be passive aggressive in doing it. So that's what happened.
God, thank you, Moreh.
Anyone else before we move on? All right. The world's definition of assertive. Oh, maybe not. We ain't gonna talk about that right now. All right. No, Google, like he got. Assertive, from the set apart perspective, is declaring what needs to be said or doing what needs to be done for the benefit of yourself or someone else. It's not simply airing one's grievances or complaining to an audience. It's not demanding rights or angrily telling someone off. It is motivated by the love we are supposed to have for each other in the name of the Father, not by selfishness or to wish to dominate others. Now, when Paul Shaul prayed for assertiveness, it was for the purpose of spreading the word, not telling off the guards or yelling at his opponents. Right? He did not pray for assertiveness to demand his rights or his freedom. He was preoccupied with the interests of the Mashiach or the word. All right? We all agree? All right. Philippians 2:21, that Bible. For there is no one here like him who readily demonstrates his deep concern for you. Others are busy with their own concerns, not those of Yahushua HaMashiach. What did we get out of that verse? Please, somebody say something before he grabs that mic. All right, we got one.
Others are busy with their own concerns. I believe that's like self-explanatory. They care about what they got going on, what their own agenda is, and not really studying what the desire of the Mashiach is.
And what does that lead to? Hold on.
Pride.
Remember the example that Christian had last week, right? When he was, or was that you? That you had you try to reprove someone online. That wasn't the Christian. That was the Kenan. I got it. Okay. 2 Timothy 3:1-9. But understand this, that in the last days there will come times of difficulty, for people will be lovers of self, lovers of money, proud, arrogant, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy or unset apart, heartless, unappeasable, slanderous, without self-control, brutal, not loving good. They were treacherous, reckless, swollen with conceit, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of Elohim, having the appearance of godliness, but denying its power. Avoid such people, for among them are those who creep into the houses and capture women, burdened with sins and led astray by various passions, always learning and never able to arrive at a knowledge of the truth. We don't know anybody like that, right? Okay. Just a Janus or a Yanis or Jamborees or Yambaris oppose Moses. So these men also oppose the truth, men corrupted in mind and disqualified regarding the faith. But they will not get very far, for their folly will be plain to all, as was that of those two men. What does it mean by those two men? Who are these two people? Anybody? Turn on his mic. Anybody? No, please, somebody. I got, please. Okay. Finger on the trigger. Finger on the trigger. Yeah.
I think I know who they are. I think at the time when Masha was leading, these two men basically saying, well, if you can talk to Yahuah, we can as well. And I think they got swallowed up. I think the earth like swallowed them up. Them and their families. Am I wrong?
You talking about Korah? Yeah, you talking about Korah.
You talking about something else? My bad.
Let Imogen answer. Google couldn't help that one.
Janice and Jabari is one of the servants of Pharaoh.
They were magicians.
Magicians and whatever you want to call them things.
Joshua, what you had to say?
No, just Cody got it right. Yeah, I was just answering the question. Those are the musicians.
and you can see these names in the Dead Sea Scrolls too.
Oh, okay. So what do you get out of this when we're talking about these two? We see they took it upon themselves to do certain things, right? Is that what we're getting out of this? What do we get out of these verses right here? Kind of like Philippians 2:21. It's a broader aspect of it. You back on that phone again? Anybody? Oh, wow. You got some strong lungs.
I think what I understand from Timothy is that people, I don't care if you are in the walk or you're not in the walk, we always are going to have those people who is lovers of themselves, who would do anything if it hurts you or slander you or about money or anything, they're going to do these things.
Okay.
And
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
and we must we as people that is in the set apart walk, we must we have to say something to those ones who fall in that pattern.
Mhm. Now, oh, you go ahead.
It kind of it's to a greater extent, but it reminds me of when they talk about the days of Noah, what's going to be happening. So it just kind of seems like those type of things will be happening at that time.
Go ahead, Joshua.
This will have to be for those that's, I mean, I know it could go both ways, but this mostly has to go with those that's outside of the walk because we bring up that bit of Vayikra 19:17 where it says we got to hold each other accountable unless we bear that the same sin. So with this scripture right here, I mean, it can is it like more leaning towards the non-believers or I know it can go either way, but with this context, is this more leaning towards the non-believers?
Okay, so oh, I'll let Namana because I might answer her question too. So go ahead, Namana, I'll let you go first.
Ken Moreh, because I was looking at the verse, verse 5, having the appearance of godliness but denying its power. That's an interesting verse because is that in the walk or outside the walk, like he was speaking of. And just as Yanis and Yambaris, well, Yanis and Yambaris, well, they did all these displays of power in front of Moshe, and that's also, you could see, a form of godliness per se, because they were having all these miracles, all these things in front of Moshe. So I'm a little perplexed on that.
Okay, let me get a stab at it. All right, so the first portion everyone seems like everybody's in agreement with about ourselves. In the latter days, people are turning to themselves, right? And then after that, it talks about these silly women, right? They're going into these households, their passions and getting them. So everyone's good with that portion, right? But the part where you get down to Janice and Yambrasi, it's like they're opposing Moses. In other words, Moses is the one that's showing them Yah's power, and they're not seeing that power of Yah. So they want to do it by their own power. So when it says, they oppose Moses so that the men also oppose the truth. So the truth was through Moses, not their truth. Okay, and then it says men corrupt in mind and disqualify regarding the faith. So the difference is showing that whereas Moses was showing them, or Moshe was showing them the power of Yah, they want to do it their way and show the power of their Elohim, and therefore they oppose the real truth, for, if you will, for their false truth.
Remember, we should all be about Elohim, right? The first thing I said, when it comes to the truth about assertiveness, it's about the word. That's why we're supposed to recite it, we're supposed to defend it, right? Now, when that is our objective, then assertive can be a gift, but that's the difference. Remember, I said that too. The difference is you have to separate these two. Is this for the truth, or is this for the world, right? So all this is about people who are in the truth, right? All right. Y'all gonna make me do a third part just on assertive, aren't you? Okay. Right. World's perspective, right? Assertive, having or showing a confident and forceful personality. Similarly, it means to be confident, forceful, self-confident, positive, bold, decisive, or assured. So all the opposite of retiring. Does anybody know what retiring means? Okay. No, not that retire. I'm already retired.
So the opposite to me of all those words would be to hold back, like not move forward, to retire, and
Excellent. Right. Being shy and fond of being on one's own, right? So what we want to make sure we're looking at is being shy, being unassuming, being unassertive, right? I remember I saying there's a positive way to do this and there's a negative way to do this, right? All right. All right. Now, again, when it comes to assertiveness, I will show how the world reacts to it, which we've been doing, and what the world will say it is. Now, by the end of this lesson, we are going to adopt these findings and apply them to those of us who are set apart, which is everyone in here, right? All right. If not, see me in the prayer room, right? And so, being assertive means being able to stand up for your own or other people's rights in a calm and positive way, without being either aggressive or passively accepting wrong. Assertive individuals are able to get their point across without upsetting others or becoming upset themselves. Yes, you have to learn restraint. What are the 3 C's of assertive communication? Number one. No. No. Well, technically you are right, but let's read what they say. Confidence, you believe in your ability to handle a situation. Clear, the message you have is clear and easy to understand. Controlled, you deliver information in a calm and controlled manner. I was talking about Keenan, right? Like he last week shared an example when faced with a situation on Facebook. And he communicated with the brother in a very well controlled and even tone that was not offensive, or should I say, would be perceived by many not to be offensive in any way. He was trying to reprove someone. And righteous rebuke is what we call it, right? The whole point is to win someone over to the path of righteousness or to the path of Yahuah. Pen and Tony. Go ahead.
So quick question. Suppose one say, for an example, like those that have children and children being disobedient and they hollering and screaming and you know, loud with their kids like that. So how does that work? Are they allowed to be loud like that with their children? Are they being assertive? And meaning being the way that you're sharing it now is not to be that way.
Correct.
But the question will be is, but what if someone says, oh, am I wrong if I'm, you know,
If you're
chastising my children and
No.
I'm yelling at them or I'm loud with them, is that fine?
No, they talk about their own individual truths, right? We don't talk about the father's truths in that situation, no.
But you could be correcting them wherever they are.
I don't know. What do you say?
So I would say personally that you can start off with, walking it out with them, dealing with them according to the knowledge.
Mhm.
They know better, and depending on the situation, then you can correct them. You don't have to be, yelling or whatever it is. But sometimes there might come a time where they're doing something that could be detrimental to something.
Mhm.
You need to be overly assertive to make sure that they understand, don't
Right.
do that.
It's all about your delivery. Go ahead.
I think I was going to answer the Moreh's question because I was thinking that the lesson that we're going over is for the adults. And so I guess we can be assertive with the children, but I just thought that the lessons that we're going through were for us dealing with adults that's in the walk.
Right, but we're going to have to be able to control ourselves and better children or adults.
Mhm.
Technically, all of us are children of Israel, but the point is that when the way that we display, because children are looking at the parents.
Mhm.
So however we are to be examples is still for the children.
gonna rub
Because
off
if
on them.
not, when they get adults, they're going to be mimicking what the parents did.
Yep, it's gonna rub right off on them. All right, here are a few examples of assertive communication. No, I'm about to say, ooh, you hear that open aggression? You hear all that? That was directing in your face. Examples. We're gonna go to prayer room. It's all about your delivery now. It's about your delivery. I completely understand what you are saying, but I have to disagree. Can you explain the reasoning behind your decision so I can try to understand what you are saying or doing? Anybody else have any other examples? I'm looking at you. You got the phone. Does anyone have any other examples that might help other people on how to communicate in a positive, assertive way? It's gonna be the
Well, I'm
Williams
saying
show.
one is obviously you be the example.
Mhm.
You know, the way that you display, the way that you talk, the way that you do things, your actions, your works, your deeds. That's a one way of showing that.
Sika Moreh, I have one.
Okay, go ahead.
How about I'm listening to what you're saying, but I agree to disagree to what you're saying.
Okay. What do you disagree with?
What was said in the content of, let's say, per se, a conversation to whomever I may be speaking to. If someone is saying something and I don't quite agree with what they're saying, I could say that statement.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Go ahead, Yasha. I got you.
I got a quick example. One of my nephews, he just barely got into the walk, and he's really into music. So he's like a little artist. He does music. So I didn't know about this. My wife told me, like, hey man, you need to check your nephew. Man. I was like, why? He was like, well, he's making this this kind of music. It's not, you need to listen to it. He's saying all kinds of things that's not of the Father. So I was like, you sure? So I checked out his music, and then and she was right. He was making like music that's not of the Father. So so in my head, I'm like, okay, so he's just coming to the walk. So how can I say something where it doesn't sound offensive, but at the same time bold, so I invited him over, one-on-one, with the what Yahuah says, bring, talk to him individually. And I told him, I was like, you know what, I know you're making music, and I know this is your passion. And at the same time, you're in this walk. So there's a certain way you got to walk. So I just told him, I was like, it's not that the music, it's not the music, it's just the kind of music you're making, and I had to tell him in a way where he had to understand, because, he's just coming into the walk, and I didn't want him to understand, I didn't want to offend him anyway, but at the same time, let him know that, when you're in the walk with the Father, there's a certain way you have to walk, and how you present yourselves to the world, so I had to let him know that, your music is fine, but just the kind of music that you're having, so he was able to receive it. So, we're able to move on from there, but that's the kind of example that I had.
Hallelujah. Anybody else? No? All right, so that kind of goes into this next part. Now, assertive people tend to have the following characteristics. They feel free to express their feelings, thoughts, and desires. They are also able to initiate and maintain comfortable relationships with other people. They have control over their anger. How does this coincide with the truth, or being in the truth? Use your experience on Facebook as an example, if you could. Because it kind of makes perfect sense with the situation that you had.
Okay, so the example that I used last week was hold on. Give me some time. I gotta find it again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. She's being assertive in her. She said, "Mama, come get me." That's bold. Now she's expressing her feelings that she's not happy. Go ahead.
Okay, so while he looking it up on the YouTube, you shared that. I says maybe share how you also had to readjust your own way and humble your own self, but blessed for the willingness to ponder the change.
We're asking a question or they're making a statement. Okay. You got it?
Yep, I got it.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so it was somebody on Facebook that was basically I don't want to say teaching, but they have a following of people that listen to them. So I could say teaching. So they were reading from Enoch, the book of Enoch, chapter 89, starting at verse 18. And before they actually started saying exactly what they received from it, I read it myself. So when I read it, I just asked for understanding concerning it. So Enoch chapter 89, verse 18, it gives an account from, I believe, Noah down to Moshe leading the children out of Egypt. But it depicts everybody as animals. So it was one insert that I saw that says that talks about 12 sheep. So automatically 12 sheep, I thought about the 12 tribes of Israel. So then it says that 11 sheep gave one sheep up to the wolves, and that one sheep dwelled and grew up with the wolves. I said, oh, that's Joseph dwelling with the Egyptians. So read all that, that's what I got from it. So when this person decided to speak on what they received from it, they stated that, oh, this is the people in the truth leaving out of the church. So immediately I was like, nah, that ain't it. That ain't it. That's not it whatsoever. So as he continued on, I posted a comment. And the comment that I posted is, Aki, I highly encourage you and anyone else who's listening to this. First and foremost, ask Yahuah for his understanding, his truth. Start reading at Exodus 1. Then read Hanuk 89, chapter 89, 18 until. And it was even a point to where I was reading and it talks about how there was a big, huge lake that spread forward. That spread from side to side, how the Red Sea was split and how the sheep walked through it and the wolves were engulfed up in it, but still didn't, that person didn't see that. So then this person said, encourage me on these scriptures I'm learning. I feel like you can explain it better. Let me hear it. So I told him, I said, you're going to have to call me. I said, you can message me or give me a call or message me. But yeah, I ain't heard back from him after that.
So with that, were you able to express yourself and your thoughts and your desires?
I was, and I was extremely angry about it too.
And were you also able to initiate and maintain comfortable relationships with other people? Even though he hasn't got back to you, it didn't go bad, did it?
No, it didn't go south.
And like you said, you were able to have control over your anger, right?
Yes.
All right. So that's my point about being assertive when it comes to the truth, right? There are certain protocols that you're going to have to take. You can't treat people in the truth like you would someone that's in the world. Right? That's why I'm saying you have to learn how to separate these two, especially when we're talking about being assertive. You have to separate. Well, I'm about to say something and I stop. There's going to be all kind of emails. These tips can help you get more comfortable with speaking up and advocating for yourself or others. Assess your communication style. All right. Plan your response ahead of time. Don't let guilt get in the way. That's a big thing we talk about. Sometimes you don't want to say anything because you don't know how it's going to be received, right? Use positive self-talk. Take time to breathe. Embody an assertive stance. I don't know about that one. But rehearse with someone you know and trust. But the one I put on here was make sure to put the Father first before all matters of the heart. Because again, that's the whole premise of this assertiveness. It's making sure you put in the Father first before you make your decisions. Right? Sometimes you gotta rehearse what you gotta say to somebody. Yeah.
Well, I'm saying that sometimes depends because some people can rehearse with the wrong person.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'm saying they got to be careful with that.
Mhm. Right. Well, that's I guess that's where discernment or wisdom will come in too when doing something like that. All right. No, you got them all the way. 75, 74, 51 is raw, right? It means adversity, affliction, bad, calamity, displeasure. All things bad, right? Yeah, age 74, 89 is raw. This is literally by breaking to pieces, good for nothing. I mean, to afflict, displease. You know, your words or your actions can do harm. They can hurt someone, or they can make them vex, which we read before, right? Is that in the Greek? Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. That's the way the phone came up. This Matthew 12, 34, 37. My goodness. You brood of vipers, how can you speak good when you are evil? For out of the abundance of fullness of the heart, the mouth speaks. Let me get out of that verse right there. Whatever you have stored in your heart, right? Sometimes somebody can push that one button good enough. And you could say some stuff that you will know you try to keep in the inner person. Yeah. You don't want to say it, but it'll come out, right? Man. The good person out of his good treasure brings forth good, and the evil person out of his evil treasure brings forth evil. I tell you, on the day of judgment, people will give account for every careless word they speak. For by your words you will be justified, and by your words you will be condemned. You have to be careful what you say. All right? Examples of that. Gonna move this right along here, okay? Proverbs 18:21, that Bible, death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love his use will eat his fruits. Right? Proverbs 12:14, from the fruit of his mouth a man is satisfied with good, and the work of a man's hands comes back to him. Proverbs 13:2, from the fruit of his mouth a man eats what is good, but the desire of treacherous is for violence. Proverbs 10:19, when words are many, transgression is not lacking. Meaning just because you saying something to me is good come out your mouth. But yeah, it might sound good. But whoever restrains his lips is prudent. So basically, you say too much, you could be saying something wrong. But if you know how to keep a level head and use wisdom and discernment with your mouth, you ain't gonna say too much. No, I can't say it again because I got discernment. All right, Proverbs 18:2. A fool takes no pleasure. That's why I stopped myself from saying what I was going to say. There you go. I'm an example. That's right. Which one we on? Proverbs 18:2. A fool takes no pleasure in understanding, but only in expressing his opinion. Now, this is what I think. Proverbs 20:19. Whoever goes about slandering reveals secrets. Therefore, do not associate with a simple babbler. So that goes back to rehearsing with somebody, right? You got to be careful who you're rehearsing with, right? Yeah, some of them go straight up. Let me tell you what he said. Proverbs 18:20. For the fruit of a man's mouth, his stomach is satisfied. He is satisfied by the yield of his lips. Good lamb? Oh my goodness. Keep going. Some more examples. All right. Proverbs 13:3, Net Bible. The one who guards his words guards his life. Whoever is talkative will come to ruin. Again, be careful what you're saying. Proverbs 14:3, by the mouth of a fool comes a rod for his back, but the lips of the wise will preserve them. That's basically what that means. You can say the wrong thing, the Father's going to take care of you then. Yeah. Proverbs 21:23. If people online can hear you. Whoever keeps his mouth and his tongue keeps himself out of trouble. Proverbs 12:18. There is one whose rash words are like sword thrusts, but the tongue of the wise brings healing. Proverbs 10:8. The wise of the heart will receive commandments, but a babbling fool will come to ruin. Proverbs 10:14. The wise lay up knowledge, but the mouth of a fool brings ruin near. We all got the gist of that, right? Keep your mouth shut. If you can read, you don't have to say nothing. Because whether you're trying to teach somebody or you're trying to get somebody information, that could be the wrong thing that you're doing. Okay, can't hear you. You say what now?
I'm saying, you know,
Right.
it's good because we can help each other out, you know, to help them. But sometimes it's hard when they ask for counsel, they get one-sided stories, and they sometimes lean toward the person because they only have that side, you know. But so that's the balance that a lot of people that are, when they're trying to help each other out, that's the balance they got to deal with.
Oh yeah. Ephesians 4:29. Let no corrupting or sapros, rotten words come out of your mouths, but only such as is good, agathos, which is good or beneficial for building up as it fits the occasion, that it might give grace to those who hear. Yes, favor. Okay. Ephesians 5:4. Let there be no filthiness. Assertiveness. No. Shameless talk and conduct, right? Nor foolish talk, nor cruel joking, which are out of place, but instead let there be thanksgiving, right? So basically, you shouldn't be even when you got something to say. Right. Yeah. You can't drop the F-bomb. Oh. Okay. Duly noted. Colossians 3:8-10. But now put off all such things as anger, rage, malice, slander, abusive language from your mouth. Do not lie to one another, since you have put off the old man with his practices, and have been clothed with the new man that is being renewed in knowledge according to the image of the one who created it. That's from the Net Bible. What do we get out of this verse right here? You got something to say back there? We can't hear you.
I was just talking about our language, you know. I say whatever the Most High use, I'll use. He's F-bombing it and dropping other, you know, expletives, I'll do it. I'll do it too.
Right. So what do we get out of Colossians 3:8-10 though? About being the new man. What's supposed to happen?
Walk as he walked.
So, you know, you basically, you're going to not do the things, all the things that's talking about your anger, your rage, your malice, your slander, abusive languages, all that stuff that you used to do, you no longer do. That is your old self. You now should be this new man or this new person is now speaking righteousness, doing the very opposite of those things that you used to do.
When you come into the knowledge of the truth and you go down in that water, you need to come up as a new man.
I can resurrect the dead, brother.
Now, Amanda, did you have something?
Yes, Ken Moreh, I did. But I think Moreh, Lamadyahu said it.
Okay.
Yeah, he pretty much said it. Toda Moreh.
Okay.
Oh, Ken, no problem. Ain't by y'all.
So I have a quick question. So, so I listened to Moreh Chanan. I don't know if I heard him correctly. Can you repeat what you said before Moreh said what he said?
Oh,
about using the words
well,
that was in.
I was back here talking with Michael here, and I said that we was talking about dropping the F-bomb or something like that. I said, well, whatever language Yahuah would use, I'm going to use.
Okay.
He calls you a wicked, I'll use wicked. He's gonna call you a heathen, I'll use heathen. If he call, but if you don't use, watch your mouth now. You know what I'm saying? I can't use that.
Right.
I can't use that. I can use only with my father. I'm gonna do with my father. Whatever he says, I'm gonna say. Whatever he do, I'm going to do.
Mhm.
You know, but I'm not going to presume it either in certain things. You know what I'm saying? Just because I think it's warranted, I'm gonna hold my tongue until he give me something to say.
Oh my goodness.
So my question was, since ASS is in the Bible, and
No, that was a translation.
okay, because I was gonna say,
Mm-hmm.
I used to be a real bad cusser.
Mm-hmm.
I do not. So
I really think we need to go in this prayer room.
I'm
We're
gonna
gonna
take
have to
my
cut this
shoe off.
lesson
My grandfather said it wasn't a bad word.
and so
short. Oh my
so
goodness.
I am a lot better.
Uh-huh.
And since Moreh want to put me on the spot,
Yeah,
say I
he
be
did that.
cussing out the children,
Mm-hmm.
I don't. You did? Yeah, you did. So I may say every now and then, if I done said, can you have a seat 3 times and ain't nobody listening to me, can you sit your
Yeah, so you gotta have
down?
some.
So I'm working on that. I'm doing a lot better. So I just want to make sure, am I
Yeah.
wrong for using the AS?
Well, yeah, because they didn't say that.
Okay,
For real.
great.
I'm just
I
saying,
won't use it no
it's
more.
King James language.
I say, sit your hind parts down.
I'm shying away from what I want to say because I'm not sure of the reaction. So I'm just like, no, you can't say it. You can't. All right, almost done here. So remember in vindictive, some of the similarities were malicious, malevolent, malignant, and malign, right? We said this is all evil, right? So this is the breakdown of them, right? It's characterized by malice, intending or intending to do harm. So you're trying to do harm. You're intending to do harm to somebody, being spiteful, being evil, right? Malevolent, it means having or showing a wish to do evil to others, right? This is all about your evil intents. So now keep in mind, for our purpose, this is with your words, right? You're doing all this with your words. All right, the same thing with being malign. All right, look at the verb here. To speak about someone in a spitefully critical manner. All right, so you're still defaming them, you're slandering them, you're running a smear campaign. All this is the opposite of praising this person. Mhm. And lastly, you have malignant there in the hands of a malignant face. So look at here what it says of a disease, very virulent or infectious. So you got to understand sometimes what you say and do can be very infectious to someone, right? Doing a lot of dangerous and harm. Go ahead.
When I was coming up, my mom, my granddad, my grandmother, and all of them used to iterate, if you have nothing to say anything good about anybody,
Mhm.
don't say nothing at all.
That's right. From maliciousness all the way down to being malignant, the wickedness that comes out of your mouth can spread like a disease, affecting all that hears it, right? So what was once good and wholesome now can become downright evil. Okay. All right, we almost done. Colossians 3:16 and 17. This is from the scriptures, 2009. Let the word of Messiah dwell in you richly, teaching and admonishing one another in all wisdom, singing with pleasure in your hearts to the master in psalms and songs of praise and spiritual songs. And whatever you do in word or deed, do all in the name of the master Yahushua, giving thanks to Elohim, the Father, through him. So basically what Moreh Chanan said, right? Whatever the Father was saying to do, or the word says to do, this is what you're supposed to be doing, right? All right. We all do that, right? Oh, because it was quiet. I didn't. Oh, they used to. Oh. Good. Open that, turn the prayer room light on in there, because we're gonna. Goodness. Colossians 4 and 6. Let your speech always be gracious, or haris, graciousness, acceptable, or benefit or favor, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how you ought to answer each person. That's what we already do. So I can just keep on going. James 1:19 and 20, hearing and doing the word. Know this, my beloved brothers, let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger. For the anger of man does not produce the righteousness of Elohim. All right, Ecclesiastes 5:1-2. Guard your steps when you go to the house of Elohim, to draw near to listen better. Oh, wait, to draw near to listen is better than to offer the sacrifice of fools. For they do not know that they are doing evil. But not rash with your mouth, nor let your heart be hasty to utter a word before Yahuah. For Elohim is in heaven and you are on earth. Therefore, let your words be few. And lastly but not least, this is Proverbs 10, 19, and 21. This is the Targum's version. By the abundance of words, sin does not cease, and he who restrains his lips is discerning. The tongue of the righteous is choice silver, but the heart of the wicked is a blow. The lips of the righteous feed many, but fools die for lack of discernment. All right. So do we have a good understanding of the difference between being assertive when it comes to the truth and being assertive in the world? We understand that there are rules and regulations that govern both, right? We are commanded to go to the other person in love. In the world, you can cuss them out. That's in the world. In the world. In the world. It ain't say over here. It ain't say over here.
Did you say you should? Or you,
No,
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 you said no,
no.
no.
I did not say
You
you should.
Slick out, Moreh. Slick out, Moreh.
You could. I said you could. I didn't say you should. Go ahead. Go ahead. Whoever was talking, was that you?
I thought that was Yahuah.
No, I'm just gonna say, Moreh, you gotta be careful. You can't say that.
Yeah.
Well, my Moreh said I could cuss you out.
I know from
Right.
firsthand.
That'd be
I
the
know
first
from
thing
Oh
they
my
firsthand.
said.
God.
My name is Moreh Yasharon. That's
Yeah,
all.
hold on, hey.
Question, comments, concerns pertaining to the lesson. Ooh, this
I just want to say,
this is
you know,
supposed to be
I understand about the tongue. When I first came into the knowledge of the truth, I used to be a profaned mouth
yeah.
person. I was a
True.
sailor.
Captain Sailor. Yeah.
I was very profane with my language. And I started to realize that, and I prayed about it sincerely. And so it takes a lot of work to retrain your tongue. Yeah, it almost, you know, I'm serious. Even when you come into the understanding that his name wasn't this and this wasn't that, and all you know and how to say is all these other words. So that took a lot for me to overcome. So I know the feeling.
Correction, do not cuss somebody out in the world. Please don't cuss them out. You have to show that same restraint, right? It'll be in the truth or in the walk. Or in the world. Anyone else? All right, if our hearts and minds are clear, who's closing us out? All right, Sharat Yahuah.
Sliga. We did have a prayer request on the YouTube that we had someone asked us to pray for their daughter who will be having a planned C-section 6 weeks early. The mother's name is Amanda and the child's name is Melody. So if you could add them to the prayer, they would appreciate it.
Hallelujah. I'm sorry. Aki, can you say that first name again?
Amanda for the child.
Amanda and Melanie.
Melody.
Melody. Amanda and Melody. Okay. All hearts.
Oh, I'm sorry. I hate to interrupt. I have a prayer request also. I'm sorry to interrupt. Could you please keep my daughter and her unborn child in your prayers? I'll give you her name.
Absolutely.
Her name is Corbin, Korben. And her son's name is Odin. It's spelled Odin. Michael Cosby.
Okay, his name is Odin.
Odin Michael Cosby, Ken. Had to get that Hebrew name in there some way, Michael.
Okay, I'm sorry. There's a few names. And that y'all touching on my weakness of remembering names. So